It started, as these stories often do, with something small. A phone call. A pleasant voice. Someone who sounded like they belonged. Her name, at least the one she used most often, was Lauren Bishop. A woman who could make you feel like you'd known her your whole life within minutes. Warm laugh. Calm tone. The kind of person who remembered your birthday, your kid's name, your favorite coffee order. But there was a problem. Lauren Bishop didn't exist. The person behind that name had built an empire out of deception, quiet, careful, calculated. Over 8 years, she would steal the identities of more than 50 people across 6 states, leaving a trail of wrecked credit, stolen savings, and broken trust. And for a long time, nobody even knew she was doing it. The first report came from a woman named Allison Price, a teacher from Vermont. She got a letter from a bank in Illinois thanking her for opening a new checking account. But Allison had never been to Illinois. She thought it was a mistake, some kind of clerical error. She called the bank, and they confirmed the information: her social security number, her address, even a photo ID with her name printed neatly beneath someone else's face. That's when she knew something was very wrong. Over the next month, Allison discovered that someone had used her name to rent an apartment, buy a used SUV, and even get a job at a small marketing firm in Chicago. She didn't know it then, but her story was just one of many. The investigation that followed was complicated, mostly because Lauren Bishop was never the same person twice. In one city, she was a nurse. In another, a real estate agent. Sometimes she was a struggling single mom. Other times, a business consultant with high-end clients. Everywhere she went, she carried carefully crafted paperwork, fake driver's licenses, doctored tax forms, even passports that could pass a quick inspection. And the most unsettling part? She didn't just steal identities. She lived them. It's hard to know where she came from. The earliest confirmed sighting was in 2014, in a small Massachusetts town called Norbridge. A woman matching her description, slender, mid-30s, light brown hair, rented a room from an older couple who said she was quiet but polite. She called herself Erin Moore, claimed to work remotely for a medical billing company, and always paid in cash. Within 6 months, she'd vanished. But when the couple went through the room she left behind, they found dozens of sticky notes taped inside a closet door. Each one had a different name. A phone number. A date of birth. And next to some of them, scribbled notes like, divorced. 2 kids. Bank, First Northern. Email reset 711. Move to Indiana, address change needed. It looked less like a to-do list and more like an inventory. The FBI didn't officially open a case until 2018, when a cluster of victims from 3 states filed reports with nearly identical details. Someone had used their information to file taxes, collect refunds, and open credit cards. The addresses linked to those applications all pointed to short-term rentals, Airbnbs, motels, and mailbox centers under different names. The paper trail was messy but eerily consistent. In every case, the person who filed the documents had listed Lauren Bishop as either a reference or an emergency contact. It became the first real lead investigators had. By 2019, Agent Paul Danner of the FBI's Cyber Crimes Division was leading the investigation. He'd seen plenty of fraud before, phishing scams, fake invoices, data breaches, but this was different. This was personal. She wasn't just stealing data, Danner later told a reporter. She was stealing lives. She learned everything about her targets, down to their mannerisms and families. She could walk into a bank pretending to be you and no one would question it. And that's exactly what she did. In one case, she befriended a recently divorced woman named Monica from upstate New York through a support group. Over several months, Lauren gained her trust, helping her rebuild her resume, encouraging her to apply for a new apartment, even offering to co-sign the lease. What Monica didn't realize was that Lauren had been collecting her personal details all along: birth date, address, driver's license, even a copy of her signature from a lease application they'd filled out together. By the time Monica discovered her bank account had been emptied, Lauren had already skipped town. Her number was disconnected. Her email deleted. When detectives traced the transactions, they led to a prepaid debit card under another fake name, one that had already been closed. She was always one step ahead. Lauren's manipulations were so convincing that some of her victims actually defended her at first. They couldn't believe she'd done it. "She was my friend," one woman told police. "We talked every day. She helped me get through my divorce. There's no way she'd steal from me. That was her greatest weapon, emotional camouflage. She made people feel seen. Listened to. Important. And once they trusted her, she quietly took what she wanted. In early 2020, things escalated. Lauren began targeting small business owners, particularly those struggling financially during the pandemic. She posed as a government grant specialist, promising to help them apply for relief funds. She'd request copies of their business licenses, IDs, tax documents, and bank info for verification. The victims never saw the money. But she did. One man in Michigan lost over $80,000 in what he thought was a legitimate federal grant process. Another woman's small bakery was nearly shut down after her tax records were used to open fraudulent accounts. The FBI estimated that, in total, Lauren stole more than $2.4 million. But money was only part of it. She seemed addicted to the power. By late 2021, investigators believed they'd finally cornered her. A storage unit in Indianapolis was linked to a fake identity tied to one of her stolen names. When agents entered, they found filing cabinets filled with fake IDs, laptops, wigs, and forged utility bills, each labeled and categorized. In total, over 70 different aliases were documented. But the most chilling discovery was a series of handwritten journals. Each one chronicled a life she'd lived. The entries weren't just about money, they were about connection. She wrote about people she'd become, as if she was collecting personalities. I can be anyone, one entry read. No one ever checks too closely. They believe what they want to believe. They finally caught her on February 9, 2022, in a quiet suburb outside Denver. She was living under the name Sarah King, working as an office assistant at a dental clinic. When she was arrested, she didn't fight. She just smiled and said, "Which name do you want?" In her apartment, they found yet another trove of fake identities. But perhaps the most disturbing thing was how ordinary her life looked. Neighbors described her as kind, quiet, the lady who brought cookies to the community potluck. Coworkers said she was the most organized person in the office. To them, she was just Sarah. To the world, she was a ghost, someone who could wear any face, answer to any name, and disappear before the truth caught up. At her trial, prosecutors presented hundreds of exhibits, emails, bank statements, phone logs, and video surveillance. Victims flew in from across the country to testify. Some cried. Some refused to look at her. But when Lauren took the stand, she was calm, almost detached. She spoke softly, like someone explaining a misunderstood mistake. "I never hurt anyone," she said. "I just gave people what they wanted me to be." The courtroom went silent. In the end, she was convicted of identity theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy. She received a 30-year federal sentence. But here's the part that still haunts investigators. After her arrest, several victims reported strange things happening: bank accounts reopened under their names, credit inquiries they hadn't made, mail rerouted. Traces of Lauren's network that no one could quite explain. Some believe she'd trained others, shared her methods before she was caught. Others think she'd simply set up so many systems, so many layers of false identities, that they continued long after she was gone. Either way, her fingerprints were everywhere. Today, most of her victims are still trying to rebuild their lives. It can take years to recover from identity theft, financially, emotionally, psychologically. Because it's not just your credit that's stolen. It's your sense of safety. Your belief that you belong to you. And somewhere, in a federal correctional facility, a woman who once called herself Lauren Bishop spends her days quietly filing paperwork for other inmates. No one's sure what name she uses now. Some say she keeps to herself. Others say she still talks about starting over when she gets out. Because maybe, in her mind, the story was never about theft. Maybe it was about transformation, about slipping into another skin whenever the old one started to crack. After all, some people steal money. Some steal things. But the most dangerous ones, the ones who stay hidden the longest, are the ones who steal lives.